Hey guys, how are you all? So now we are going to see the new topic services and endpoints under networking. So let's get started. For this question number 90, create cluster IP service, backend service, selector app, and so on. So this is basically the labels and the port and the session affinity client and all. So that's what they mentioned. So we will see how we can do this. What happens here is we have to create a service and we have to use a label of this for that particular service so that the deployment will have this particular labels, and we have to use the session affinity as client IP, and affinity has to long until sticky session should be there until 3600 seconds. So if you see this session affinity in Kubernetes documentation, just search for session affinity and you can see the discussions and all these things. So you can go to one of these, not the discussions, but just like this, and search for session stickiness. I think if you go to this session stickiness and this section, this is under virtual IPs and service proxies. Here if you navigate to session affinity and you can read why we are doing this. Okay, so to explain it in a brief way, let's say basically why do you create a service? You will create a service to access any pods or something, right? So in your local cluster, so that request has to go to some of the pods in your cluster. So what happens, let's say your service to your pods request actually resoluted by kubeproxy, right? For the normal services, not the headless service. So that resolution by the kubeproxy is happening, and let's say your service is sending the traffic to two or more pods, not one. Okay, and let's say like three pods are eligible for the labels they are matching. So three pods, it can send the traffic using some load balancing technique, or there is this uh, like it is a round robin technique it uses, so that way it can send the traffic. But actually if you want to stick to only one pod instead of three and send to only that particular pod for some time, that's where you will use the sticky sessions. So let's say you want to send like 5 minutes request to only one pod without round robin to be executed, that's where you will use the session affinity and session stickiness. So yeah, that is the brief concept on this, and they ask to implement the uh, question using that. Every time in the question, in some questions, we will see a new topic. So here we have seen the session stickiness. We already know from the previous lectures how to create a deployment. So I'll just pick up this create deployment imperative command, and I'm using Nginx. Although they have told to use 8080 as a port, my Nginx target port should be 80. So yeah, first I created a deployment with three replicas, and I want to label my deployment. So if I label the deployment, and also I can label the pods. So basically if you label the pods, and these two are there, right? And this is the deployment level, it has only one. Now there is a note, if you delete one of these pods, that means when it crashes, replica set will immediately run a new pod using original pod template. Because the template was now updated for the crashed pod, it will only have uh, the app equal to backend, and we'll be missing tire equals to API. So a service, so basically, let's say the deployment is having this, pods are having this. Let's say my pod is gone. It lost its template. It doesn't know like which label it has to create, with which label it has to create. So that's when it will look into the deployments labels, and it will implement those label inside the pod. Since the app backend is not there in that particular pod, template is missing, that's why it only gets created with this tag equal to API is what they're telling. But although it is not, it is the off the topic, but still I just want to mention that. I know I have the pods with these two labels, and I want to create a service using that. So it's an imperative command I'll use, or you can use a sample YAML file from the Kubernetes documentation. So I'll use the port and target port like this. I know Nginx is 80, so I want to put, although in question they put like 8080, I want to use 80 only because the target Nginx will be running on port 80. I don't want to change that default things for now. It's not our intention for this solution. So yeah, I'll just create this service by, first of all, I want to show you how the traffic is going inside the, when you request this service. Okay, without changing anything, I'll just change the labels inside the service. So you can go to backend service.yaml and try to change the selector app equals to backend, and one more selector is there, which is tire is equals to API. So okay, and I will save this and try to apply this. I have applied this, and I need to get the pods. If you do this, you can see the IPs of the pods, and if you get endpoints of service of backend service, you can see it is sending the traffic to all these pods, right? You can verify it using the IPs above. So yeah, it is sending to that, and on 80 port my Nginx is running. So if you can run a dummy uh, pod and check inside, you can able to see. So to verify that, it's just verification you need not do in the exam. This is just off the topic to just show you how visually the traffic is moving. So we will run a dummy pod here, so it will be removed as soon as we execute. And you can go here, and since we don't know, okay, let me first go to the second tab and do, let's wait for some time. Get service -o wide my backend service has cluster IP of this. So I'll just replace it with this, and oh, I don't know why, but okay. So I think it got refreshed. I'm not sure. Yeah. So want to just use this. Now I will run this, and I want to just run this. You can see clearly it is sending request in a round robin fashion. These are all the pods names. Okay, you can also do like k get pods hyphen o y. So yeah, you can see like this way it is sending, and exit it. Now we will implement the session affinity. What you can do is edit svc backend service, and inside this you have here under the spec session affinity. I You can refer here like session affinity, either of the two values. It will be either none or client IP. So we need to use client IP. P is capital, and inside that also you can put like session affinity, and config is there, and client IP. So inside that same I'll put this, and here I have client IP, and inside this I have timeout seconds, and that is 3600 is what we have to use according to question. So I think this is fine. I'll just apply it. Now changes are not valid, so we have to force edit it. There is a replace command. Okay, replace. So here if you go, you can do like hyphen hyphen force, and just copy this YAML and paste here. I think it's correct only, but let's do this. Hmm. Now there is some typo here. That's why it is not yet created. What I'll do is vi backend service YAML, and here I'll just do use of session affinity. So let me don't use my own typing. I'll just do like this to this, and similarly there is session affinity config client IP inside which I need to use timeout seconds of 3600, and I'll try to apply this. I think now the IP will be changed because we have um, yeah, so now the IP is this thing. Now we will try to do the same thing. We'll just go to the busy box and inside which I'll try to run this. If you can see clearly, previously my pods, it's like it was going to the different pods. Requests are going to different pods, correct? But now if you see, when I pinged the service, the request went to the same pod. That is because we have put the session affinity that as client IP, and 3600 seconds it goes to the same pod. Request goes to the same pod. So if you see here, it was previously it is going to like different pods, but here it is going to the same pod. So it is like this sticky session is working. So yeah, that is the demonstration for this question number 90. Thank you so much. Bye bye.